righty, gather round. It is time. Oh, we got a dandy for you, folks. Episode 121, Three Guys Before the Game. Thank you so much for being with us. Tony Caridi along with the Senator, Brad Howe. You know, sometimes guys just go quiet on you. I mean, they just kind of quietly go away. You can't hear from them. I mean, it's just like, like dead silence, nothing. Our guest today, in my opinion, has gone radio silent. He's gone like completely underground, like witness protection for the last 8 years, which is shocking because he is one of the most colorful guys in the history of West Virginia University football coaches. Please welcome to the program the inimitable Bill Kirelawich. Silence is broken. Silence is broken.
Silence is broken. It's been a long time.
I'm not lying to you. I'm serious. I have not seen you in like forever. And Senator, I want you in on this. Has he changed?
Exactly.
Zero.
As I remember him last time we talked.
Zero.
Right.
What are you doing?
Well, what I did was I had both eyes operated on for cataracts. Now I can see better than Superman. I've got a new knee, brand new knee. I might be 70 years old, but my knee is only 2.
You feeling
Tony,
good?
he's not worried about 18-year-olds anymore, right?
No.
That's part of it. That helps.
Right. Nope, I don't worry about them. They're not up and down the field running with my paycheck in their mouth. Now it's my wife running with my paycheck in her mouth, right to the mall. But the Mount Rushmore reference, was that a reference to my head of granite or what?
No. I'm thinking, okay, here's the deal. And yeah, I know you're going to be all humble and on all this stuff. So this is basically, you're here, but the Senator and I are going to have this conversation. When you look back at the success that West Virginia University football has had since Don Nehlen got here in 1980, which was your first year at West Virginia University.
No, 79. I started with Frank.
So then you transitioned, and Don kept
hired
you.
me full-time, yes.
Okay, so you were part-time with Frank Signetti. So you take a look at that cross-section and those games that you were involved with on your 2 stints plus provide some of the all-time greatest wins in school history. So you can run away from it whether or not you want to be on Mount Rushmore, but the reality of it is, and what was West Virginia known for through all of those years? Defense. Blue-collar,
toughness.
punch in the face, blue-collar mentality, lunchbox, whole deal, and that was you.
Tony, those were great years. I mean, great years. And the further you get away from them, when you're inside the circle, you really don't see, when you're outside and you're looking back and on everything, it was great accomplishments. And I hate to say this, but for a great university. I just wish everybody out there would realize what we have here. I mean, let me tell you a story. Okay, and
that's what we're here for.
That's why you're here. Yeah, that's perfect. Exactly. That's why you're here.
You had, we went to Arizona, and of course we're eating, and at this particular time we're eating in the Bear Down Kitchen was where the athletes ate. So I was eating with the strength coach at the time, and he said, those girls over there, you had a volleyball coach, and I guess she coached the 18 and under team. Luck hired her. And when she left, a bunch of players left. Well, she said, those 2 girls over there played at, they just transferred from West Virginia. I said, did they? He said, yeah. I said, call them over. So he calls this cute little Greek-looking girl over. Her father owned a restaurant in Phoenix. And I said, transferred from West Virginia, huh? She looks at me, she's a little bit scared. She said, yeah.
I wonder why she was scared. Yeah, go ahead.
I said, let me ask you something. What'd you think of West Virginia? She looks at me, she thought a while, and she broke into a smile, and she goes, I loved it. I said, we all love it. We all loved it.
Yeah.
But it's just one of the instances where, West Virginia came up, which was more than once out there.
Yeah.
And
Your career. Okay, I'm sorry. You warned me before the show. Don't call it a career. So don't refer. Okay, so your job. You said you just want to be just like an electrician, a plumber, an accountant. You had a job. Okay, so your job.
Careers are for movie stars. They're for movie stars and baseball players and politicians. I ain't neither.
Okay, so you're just a job guy.
Just a job guy, scratching out a living just like everybody else.
Let's go all the way back to before the job ever happened. You're a kid growing up in eastern Pennsylvania, hard coal region of eastern Pennsylvania, and you grow up in a bar area.
Bar area, nothing. We had the bar.
You had the bar.
Yeah, it wasn't the area.
You live upstairs?
We lived upstairs, and then we had the bar downstairs. My pop went in business, and my grandfather was in business before him. And the only reason the grandfather didn't have the bar was because he had the distributor.
Yeah,
so we had the distributor right next door, and my grandfather ran that, and the old man ran the bar.
Was it a real bar or was it beer?
Corner bar.
Liquor?
Beer and liquor, best glass of beer. And in them days, you had pride in a glass of beer. It was no light beers. Nothing looked like a urine sample. I mean, it had a nice 3/4-inch head, even on an 8-ounce glass. It was beer the way beer's supposed to be.
Exactly.
But you can't buy it today.
Can't get it anymore.
You can't buy it. I mean, and the Schaefer and Schlitz,
Schlitz used to be a classic brand.
Premium beer.
So that's what you guys were selling.
Right.
Guys would get in there out of work, out of the mills, and they'd get in there.
Out of the mines and the mills and the factories. I'd go in the bar, even when I taught at Cardinal Brennan, I'd go in the bar at 7 o'clock in the morning. We'd have full bar, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Because they were getting over the overnight shift.
They were getting off shift, and I'd walk down the middle of the bar to get an ice water. And as I went down the bar, Tone, I'd hear maybe 5 different languages, guys getting together. Because the language, if you don't speak it, it dies. It dies. And you did 2 guys talking Italian, another 2 guys talking Polish, another 2 guys talking Lithuanian. But that's the way it was in those days.
Yeah.
And we all had our own churches. I went to the Lithuanian church, and the Irish church is only right up the street. Priest told me, he seen me in Master one day. He said, next week, go to your own church. Father Conley, I'll never forget it. I said, go to his. I said, you bet your ass I'll go to my own church next week.
So that was growing up.
Yeah.
How good of a player were you? Were you like nowadays? Kids start their parents have them playing flag football when they're basically out of diapers. So when did you first put the gear on and start playing?
Not till I got to high school. No, I played in midgets. What am I saying?
How old?
I played midget football. As far as how good of a player I was never a good player. Never. When I never considered myself a good player, and I don't know why. Because I guess because I thought other kids that could run better and do better than I did. But my salvation was no matter what team I was on. I don't want to sound conceited. I was always the toughest kid on the team.
Why? Where'd toughness come from? Where'd that come from?
You know what? I just think it came from growing up. It came from working in a bar. It came from in the bar, everybody doing their part. Everybody had a job. I never heard the words sleeping in till I got to college. And the kid said, well, I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. I figured, what the hell sleeping in? I never heard of it. I didn't want to sound ignorant, so I didn't ask him. But there was no sleeping in my house.
Yeah.
Not once, not ever.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's where it came from. And growing up and I love when these guys tell me about the hood, the inner city. Let me tell you something. Grow up in the coal regions. We're swimming in the Bracho. They're 500 feet deep. Kids drowning them every year. The thing that surprised me most about West Virginia when I got down here was land reclamation, was the reclamation. That these people, the miners, actually, the owners of the mines, paid money, and when the mine was done, it looked just like it did before the mines. That's not the way it is. You go from Pottsville to Scranton, and those breakers and those they're still there. They're still there, the same, and they got rid of the coal banks now because they found out 30% of it was coal, and they could burn them in the cogen plants, like we got down here.
Yeah.
And once that runs out, we'll probably be burning Philly's garbage, but that's another story.
You getting a lot of fights when you were in school?
Ton of them.
Did you?
Not only just when I didn't stop when I was in school. It extended clear on, and when I was still coaching at Cardinal Brennan, basically, till I didn't stop fighting until I got down here.
Were there fights in the bar?
Not many. The old man wouldn't tolerate it. It was not. I can say, I bet you I count on one hand the amount of. We had a nice corner bar. Mm-hmm. We were a sports bar before there were sports bars. There was 2 TVs on either end. And when they cut us out of one, they put an antenna on the roof. We could actually get Baltimore games. We got all the Big 5 games out of Philly. We got it all.
How did you get, because usually you hear people that grew up as you did don't necessarily get the opportunity to play sports because you're working. Did you have to convince anybody to play football, or that was part of the deal? How'd you get into football in the first place? Playing, not coaching. I'm saying just playing.
You know what? The same way every kid gets into it. Their buddies do it. So all the guys went out. That's why I couldn't understand the reason you play sports to begin with, because all your pals were on the team. And I couldn't understand guys. Now, I'm not going to name names. Say, well, I'm not playing in the ball game because I don't want to get hurt. Well, hell, I don't want to drive my car because I don't want to get in an accident. I don't want to step off my porch because I might fall down the steps. I mean, geez, I wish. But anyway, long story short, all the guys played, so I played, and it just snowballed from there.
You're the toughest guy out there most of the time on your teams.
Most of the time, yeah.
And so school comes to an end, and all of a sudden here comes this possibility of going to college to play, and it's Salem College. Walk me through how the West Virginia angle comes into your life, which basically becomes your home.
Let's walk you through the college part first, because that's a story in itself. The only one that had an idea going to college was my mother. I mean, my mother was adamant. I mean, the whole 4 years in high school, Tony, we would get books brand new in the beginning of the year. I'd put them in my locker and never pull them out till the day school was over. I did literally nothing but, and I like school. I mean, I like going to school, but I was never a student. Never a student. And, I mean, college was different. But I'm talking about how my plan was to go to the service. And I wanted to go to the service so bad. And it's hard to explain now, even with you guys. You guys are a different generation. In those days, the world was smaller.
Yeah.
To go 9 miles, that was a big deal. I mean, we literally grew up in the coal region, and if you just lived in Norman, you never got out of it. And it was the same every place all around. There were no damn interstates. I mean, the thought of flying, that was for somebody else. And so the service was a way to get the hell out of town.
And what's going on at that time? What war are you going in?
We're at the beginnings of the Vietnam War. It's just it's really a an advisory thing.
Yeah, I got you.
We had guys over there, but I couldn't even find Vietnam on the map. I just wanted to go there. Well, my mother made up her mind that I was going to college, and through shuffling of paying, looking there and there and with everything, but we found Salem.
How'd you find Salem? Because there's no internet to go to at
that
time. I mean,
none.
Who's saying Salem? I mean, you're in Eastern PA, and who's saying Salem, West Virginia?
It was probably the closest place I could go to that would accept me. I'm the only guy that took the college boards 14 times, and my mother, man, by the time I got done taking them college boards, I was cross-eyed. I can remember sitting there and just filling out zeros, or C's, at A, B, C, filling out the C's just so I could get the hell out of there. I mean, it drove me nuts. So anyway, and I said, oh, Billy, you didn't get, I think 710 was the highest I ever got. My kids get higher than that on one half the test. To think of it. I got 2 engineers at home. I keep thinking, where the hell did they come from? I asked my wife.
Maggie, that's where it came from.
I flunked every math from 5th grade till I was a freshman in high school. Then I broke my leg my junior year in high school. And I didn't come back to school. I broke it in August. I didn't come back to school till after Thanksgiving. I told the doctor to replace my knee. I was up and walking the next day with a knee replacement, a whole brand new knee. But yet I was in a wheelchair. The first thing back in school, I said, Billy, I said, you got to take. Here's what you got to do. You got to take algebra with the freshmen, and then algebra with your own class. Or we're going to give you a certificate of attendance. You ain't going to graduate from high school. Man, it don't take no genius to graduate from high school. So, then I guess the only story about that is I was in that freshman algebra class the day the kid walked in with the Mimeo that Kennedy got killed.
Wow.
That's where I was. I mean, yes, you never forget where you were. You never forget how damn dumb you were either. That's where I was.
Freshman algebra.
Freshman algebra class. I mean, and they were bigger stooges than I was. But anyway, get to Salem, and Salem wound up being the best thing that ever happened to me. In a lot of ways, because you wise up, it's one of those things. You reach a fork in the road and you took it. Like Yogi says, you can't be a jerk off forever. Mm-hmm. And so I graduated with a good GPA. We played good football. I was surrounded by excellent people. Donnie Young, Eddie passed along the gems of the earth. Paul Miller. I mean, Alan Hoover. I could go back and back and back. Dale Evans, guys, the Harry Hartman, Clem Clower, guys that were great, great guys. Mrs. Rice, who got me through a lot of things. But Salem was a great place for me. I mean, it was one of those, your life, I think, is made up of a series of either fortunate or unfortunate situations. And that was a very, very fortunate situation for me.
So you maintained your toughness while you were there,
yeah.
And obviously Eddie passed along, and Donnie Young, who eventually would come to WVU, remembered that, and right. So that began. And as we all know, it's always about the relationships, right?
Exactly. So I get out of college and I go to this little Catholic school, and I was waiting. Long story short, I was supposed to get drafted. And I got my draft notice the whole bit, and I was put on notice. And in those days, you had to every month you had to go report to the draft board. And I'll never forget her name, heavy-set lady, Sophie Dalton. We knew each other on a first-name basis. I knew her kids and everything. And she'd say, "Well, Billy, next month you're definitely going." And then next month, April went to May went to, and I'm not taking a job. I'm working for Buddy Buckler, the landscaper. And drinking every night and going crazy. But anyways, we, comes August, finally it gets to September, and she said, "You better find a job. They're not drafting anybody." So I just happened to be working with my buddy who was coaching at Cardinal Brennan, and the priest come over and said, "Would you like a job?" I mean, just like that.
This is not the priest that kicked you out of his church.
No.
Okay.
This was a different one.
Okay.
Me and this guy didn't get along too good either, but that's another story.
So the priest comes over, offers you your first coaching job.
Priest comes over and
had
says,
you thought about coaching before that moment? I mean, at any point
I
in college,
knew I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to be a coach back in high school.
Okay.
It was
whoa.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
It's just one of those things that hit me that I thought I would like to be a coach.
Did one of your coaches, did that trigger you? You said, okay, that.
A guy named Joe Rinaldi. And Fractal was by no means a powerhouse, no stretch of the imagination. But a guy named Joe Rinaldi played at, he later went on and coached at Drexel's from Windber, Pennsylvania. He played with Frank Kush in high school. And Joe was just a tough Italian guy. And, and actually taught Latin.
Yeah.
And
one of the great romances.
Latin, every Catholic kid that grew up knew Latin. I used to hear the one song at Mass when they play it, and they say, realize at one time we knew that song in 3 different languages. 3 different languages. Imagine Latin, Lithuanian, and English.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so Joe, he was a big influence on. When I imagined what a coach would be like, I pictured they'd be like this guy Joe Rinaldi, and so the seed was planted at that time. Donnie and Eddie, they were good influences as well. They just continued what I was thinking. So I got to the Cardinal Brennan, and damn if they didn't make me the head coach.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything, but I figured, I can go be an assistant and not know nothing, or I could be the head coach and not know nothing. The only difference is I got nobody bitching at me when I'm the head coach.
So you said sold. I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, this is
do
like they do today with the dumb kids and the thing. The college boards, they let them take it at their own pace.
Yes, they do.
Well, I learned at my own pace. So I learned at my own pace, and I go to clinics and pick things up, go to different colleges, and we did all right. By the time 1976 or whatever came, they divided the classes up in the state, and we were like the fifth. When I took the team over, you ain't gonna believe. When I took the team over, they had the school for 3 years. So Immaculate Heart and Shendel Catholic combined to form Cardinal Brennan. Well, before I took it, when I got the job, they were 1 and 30-something. So I figure no place to go but up.
Exactly.
But the only problem was when I got named, we only had 7 kids on the team, and the only reason he didn't drop football was because the bishop said every diocesan school has got to have football, and so the priest buckled. He kept football, unwantingly, probably didn't want to, but and then we took off.
How many years were you there?
I was there 9 years.
You were there 9 years?
9 years. And we played some good games. I'm not going to tell you we were Cincinnati Moeller, not by any stretch, but they understood how to win. I had great kids, tough kids. I see those kids today. And that was a good time, too.
A lot of times today, guys that want to get in coaching would never stay 9 years in high school before they make the jump.
No,
they'd get frustrated and they'd either check out or not pursue it, right?
Well, it's like the guys that work in the bank. They don't want to be the teller. They want to go right to that desk, right
Sure.
to the vice president. It's like anything else. To me, it's all about making your bones. And I told my kid, it's about I can remember she wanted to go to she got a job right out of high school with Tropicana. She said, it's lonely down there. I said, Mickey, you got to make your bones. She said, well, someday I'd like to teach. I said, what are you going to do? Are you going to get up in front of a classroom and say, my first job, I cried so much and I was so homesick that I had to come home? Imagine how much attention those kids will pay to you. You got to make your bones in any job you do. You got to be willing to sweep floors. You got to be willing to do the bottom work for no pay. Pay is immaterial. It's experience. And that's what the hell things are all about. And so I made my bones at Cardinal Brennan.
Tony, 9 years in high school, you don't see guys getting head jobs now that have been coaching for 9 years.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an assistant coach for 9 years, that's a long time in college football before you get a head job.
Absolutely.
That just doesn't happen.
So what'd you learn about yourself as a coach in those 9 years?
Well, I could do some really dumb things, and you learn by experience, and we've had good things and we had bad things. And if I learned anything, I learned how to control my temper through a number of unwelcome incidents. I mean, I could go over them here, but I would.
Statute of limitation isn't over yet.
Yeah, it is. 30-some years. Hell, I passed the background check in Arizona, so it must be over.
You butted heads with the nuns?
No. Well, I butted heads with the nuns, but not from an athletic standpoint. From well, not only was I head football coach, okay? I was head football coach. I was head baseball coach. I was assistant basketball coach. I was head of the athletic department, and I was prefect of discipline.
Oh, boy.
Which means when the kids needed a kick in the ass, I was the guy that had to do it.
Sure.
And so they had their ideas of how discipline could be, it should be, and I had my ideas on how discipline should be. And sometimes we were at locker, but when I got married, we had the reception in the Cardinal Brennan. I had 500 people there, and every damn nun was there. So they couldn't have hated me too much.
So were you a little bit more? You were more aggressive on how you wanted to discipline the kids than the nuns wanted to be?
Yeah. Exactly. At that time, just going back, but they passed the Student Bill of Rights in the public schools.
Yeah.
And which meant that you could wear what you wanted to school. You could wear T-shirts, you could carry your hair. Well, at them days, the hair couldn't touch the collar in the back. The girls, when they had to kneel in front of me on a desk, and their hemline of their skirt had to hit the desk. I mean, it was all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we had to hold the line. And, of course, the occasional paddle. But you know what? The thing was, the more you paddle the kids, the less you had to paddle them. You know, that all, to me, the where education has gone south is every day when that kid goes to school, in my thinking, again, and I might be wrong, there's probably psychologists out there that tell me I'm half whacked too, but there's got to be somebody in that school they're afraid of. They're afraid of. There's got to be somebody in that school if they say, hey, you're going down to see Mr. So-and-so. You talk like that one more time, they don't want to see Mr. So-and-so. They'd rather see Satan himself than see that guy. And that's and we don't have those guys in schools anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
We don't have them.
They don't allow.
We have. Used to be the principals were stand-up guys with backbones. I'm not sure we got those guys in schools anymore. Teachers feel like they're on their own. They don't control the discipline in their own classroom because every decision they make regarding discipline, okay, could extend to a financial decision. And a teacher shouldn't be put in that. It should never be put in that situation. And because school boards are gutless, and I'm not necessarily talking I'm not talking in general. School boards are gutless, administrations are gutless, and who's caught in the crossfire? The teachers. And nothing ticks me off more than I hear, well, we don't get the education because we had bad. No, you had good teachers. You just got gooses. Before education can even happen, there's got to be discipline. There's got to be structure. And, geez, you mentioned discipline structure today. No, heaven forbid if you mention
And
that.
we should point out your wife is a longtime teacher.
Long-time math teacher.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. So you know how the business works.
And so it was, but the nuns and I, on one hand, but at the other hand, we were good friends. I mean, some of the best people I knew, wonderful people. I know the problems that's going on were the priests and nuns that I taught with at Cardinal Brennan. Just great Individuals.
All right, now push us forward. As you're in year 7, 8, 9 as a high school coach, are you thinking in your head, I could be here for 30 years. This could be me, or are you looking with an eye towards, all right, I might want to try something else?
Well, I'm wondering, how the hell am I ever going to get out of here? Because, and it's a dollars and cents thing. Fuel oil went from about 12 cents a gallon to about 80 cents. You remember the crap?
Absolutely.
The long lines to get
Jimmy
gas.
Carter and the whole gas rationing thing.
Yeah. In our enrollment, when I got there, it was well over 400, and that was dropping. For us to have a class of 100 kids was, lucky. When I started at Cardinal Brennan, our grade school kids went to school for free. There was no tuition in the grades. And now they started the tuition, and you could see the writing on the wall, and you could see the decline of, and Cardinal Brennan has since subsequently closed, but, I didn't want to be there when they were putting the wreath on the door, if you know what I mean. I didn't want their funeral to be my funeral. So I'm thinking, well, how the hell do we get out of here? And it just came up. I had a couple of good kids. Trickett came up to recruit him, Rick Trickett. And the reason I'm at West Virginia, was at West Virginia in the first place, was because Trickett basically got me the job.
Rick Trickett, who, for those that may not know, long-time coach and who's now going to be back coaching this coming season at Glenville State. So Rick Trickett comes up, he starts to recruit your kids, and I bet you guys hit it off like two peas in a pod.
We were raised in hell. I mean, Trickett woke up with many a hangover and many a headache. He's coming up to the Coleridge, but he got Rosecki, and I came down as a part-time coach. Frank was in the hospital at the time. Donnie okayed it, and Frank was getting treated for cancer. I might add, I play golf with Frank every winter when I go to Florida. Frank and I play golf.
Still doing well.
He's a battler. He's a fighter. Cancer couldn't beat him.
Yeah. So West Virginia's head coach is getting cancer treatment. They need some help. Right. And then Donnie Young, who's already on staff here, says, yeah, bring Bill back down here as a part-time coach.
And again, thanks to Trickett, because Trickett pushed it. And I'll never forget that and always be grateful to him for that. But that's how I got here. And I stayed in the dorms. I just got married. I got back from my honeymoon. My old man calls and said, Billy, he said, they call from West Virginia. He said, you got to be down there. So all those clothes, I watched it, and then drove down to West Virginia. And that was it. And then my wife thinking, I'm married. I said, what am I married to, a ghost? So anyway, and
So things aren't good at West Virginia
No,
when you
things
get here.
are
Not
bad.
only is Frank Signetti undergoing cancer
Yeah.
treatment, the team's not winning, and they're
Team's
getting
not
ready to
winning.
get a coaching change. They're going to fire him.
And Frank was put in a bad situation. Frank got the job. They lost a bunch of kids. The NCAA just went to the 2.0. So a lot of those great players at West Virginia had those 1.7s out of high school. Well, they're not getting in anymore. And so you got that transition to go. And so lo and behold, we go out to Arizona. It's Frank's last game. They just beat us up and come back, and it ain't a week later, Frank gets fired. And then, Don meets with us, and again, it's good fortune. Gary Tranquil's on that staff. And Gary and I were good friends. We're good friends to this day.
How? Where'd that relationship start?
With coaching there at West Virginia. Gary came from Ohio State. Woody had just hit that Charlie Bauman in there, whatever Bauman
Yeah,
kid.
Charlie Bauman got fired.
Down in Clemson. Woody's fired. Trank gets the job at West Virginia, and I come the same year. And Trank's basically background-wise from a Valley, it's the same background.
So he takes a liking to you.
We hit it off pretty good.
So hold on. So back up a second there. So Frank's out. Coach Nealon comes in.
out.
You're sitting here without a full-time job.
Right.
Nealon walks in. Your first impressions are what?
He tells us, good guy. He tells us, look, he said, I'm not going to fire, but I'm not going to hire you either. You go out, you get the job done. There's only three of us now. There's me, Stevie Dunlap, and Trank. That's it. So Trank's in
Who are the rest of the guys?
He didn't hire them yet. They're not hired. There's no staff. There's nobody. So
Wait a second. So when Frank got fired, the rest of the guys got blown up too?
Yeah.
Okay, they're all gone.
I think he offered Nick the job, and Nick didn't
Saban.
want it. Yeah. But everybody's gone. So Steve goes south, I go north, and we're recruiting like hell. We call back in the Trank, and he said, go here, go there. And that's what we did. But he didn't promise, neither me or Steve, he didn't promise our jobs back.
So you're doing this, but you don't know that you're coming back necessarily.
No, I don't. I have any idea that I'm coming back. Dick Rader, I'm on the verge of recruiting Kurt Kale, and Dick Rader calls me up, and now you guys don't remember Dick. He played here, and he coached here with Frank and that, and he coached at A&M, and he said, look, he said, I can get you a job over in Virginia. He said, high school, very good high school job. And I'm thinking, geez, should I take it? I said, nah, I'm recruiting this kid. I just want to play this thing out, see where it'll take me. So I get done recruiting him, and we get back in off the road. Recruiting's over. He hires his staff, and eventually Bobby Sutton was the defensive line coach. Bobby's a good guy. Good guy.
Become the Army coach at one.
Became Army head coach.
Yeah.
And I used to bump into Bobby at conventions and that kind of thing. But Bobby just did not want to be in Morgantown. Did not want to be in Morgantown. His wife, they just got fired at Illinois. His wife had a baby. Didn't see the baby. Didn't see his wife. The whole thing. It wasn't working out. It wasn't a good fit for Bobby because Lloyd Carr came with him. It was Lloyd and Bobby Sutton.
There's that one picture of a staff meeting, and
Yeah.
Lloyd Carr was at the table, but he didn't. He lasted just a couple of months before
Yeah.
he went back to Michigan.
Right.
Obviously, became the Michigan head
Yeah,
coach.
because
eventually.
Mueller went back and got he didn't get fired. He went back and got a job there and brought Lloyd back with him. Well, anyway, Don hires me. So and
You two guys are different.
very different. Very different. Different types of personalities. But, Don, if he said it once, he said it a million times. He said, if I had all Don Nealons, I wouldn't have a very good staff. But if I had all Bill Kirelawiches, I wouldn't have a very good staff either. It was the different personalities because you're working with so many kids and they're different personalities.
Yeah.
You can't be all type A guys or type this or whatever you want. You had to mix up the personality types on your staff.
That's a great point.
And I was what I was, and Don was what he was, and the other guys were what they were. And he let you coach. He let you coach. I mean, he would bitch from time to time, you're cursing too much, you're cursing. I would say, who, me? But Don, the thing that I liked about Don, that I respected, Don never had a bad word to say about Frank. Don was never a guy that reflected back, well, we're not doing it that way anymore. He was a forward-looking guy. And I think that caught the kids attention right off the bat. That there was no pointing the finger backwards. Everything was, hey, what you do from this day on. You know, this is breathe a ray of life into the guys. You know, that were in the doghouse, but it was good to work with Don, and we won games.
What was the talent level that you guys inherited? Because you got Talley, right? Dennis Folks, right? Oblak. So there's players here, right?
The talent level when Frank was here that last year was shaky now. That was it reminded, and I don't say this. I mentioned this to Jeff too out there. It reminded me of the talent level that we inherited at Arizona. I mean, there was a couple of guys on one side of the ball, a couple of guys on the other side of the ball, but buddy, we weren't loaded with players now, not by any stretch of the imagination. And so that the talent level, it got better. Frank's last year, he had a hell of a recruiting year. And that's with those freshmen, and we built on that as time went. And there were good kids underclass, and there just weren't enough of them.
Yeah. What made Nealon good?
I think what made him good was he had a good feel for the kids. He had an understanding of little things, when to back off, when to add on. You know, he had a good finger on the pulse of his team.
Yeah.
And I think that's not taught anywhere, and you don't learn in books. That's as intuitive as hell. It's a mother breastfeeding. I mean, for Christ's sake. He had a great feel for the kids. And I think that's what ultimately, I mean, if you had there's probably 9 million things.
Right.
But if you had to draw, well, what's the bottom, the foundation to that? I think he had a great feel for the kids.
You mentioned you learned a lot being the head coach those 9 years. How did your coaching style change once you got with Nealon in the college system, if at all? Did it?
Well, no, my coaching style never changed. How I was and my approach to the kids, that never changed. When I walked off the field for my last practice in Arizona.
Same way.
I was coaching the same way, the same thing. I didn't mind working hard because I worked my butt off at Cardinal Brennan. I mean, you weren't just head football coach at Cardinal Brennan. I washed the uniforms. I picked rocks up off the field. I lined the field. I mean, I did it all. I could remember washing the uniforms. This is when the mothers took it off me. And the damn washer broke, and those freaking uniforms washed all night. And all that piping. Oh, I mean, I screwed it up. So they did the uniforms, the mothers. And,
they went around all night long in the washing machine.
I tell you another thing that shocked me. When I bought tape, all night long.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it wasn't on spin cycle.
No, it was agitation. Yeah, I got you.
I would get one box of tape for the year.
For the year.
I would look down my office in West Virginia, would get boxes. I mean, they got a tractor trailer full of it. I look back at all that tape and say, how the hell bad can this job be? One box of tape lasted me a year.
It's amazing.
But so the hours didn't freak you out. The recruiting, to be on the radio, whatever. Let's go. We got it. I got this.
The hours never made a difference because I was probably spending more time coaching, hours wise, because I had to. Throw school in on top of it, it just made it worse.
We're going to jump into West Virginia and how the 1980 season and Don Nealon started a brand new stadium in just a bit with our special guest, Bill Kirelawich. What do you say we take a stroll down memory lane right now? The date, November the 20th, 1993. Do you remember the date? Crowd of nearly 70,000 watching West Virginia beat the Miami Hurricanes at Milan Puskar Stadium. Think about this now. More than 90,000 people across our country are waiting on a kidney donation as we speak. 90,000, and over 20,000 more than the biggest crowd ever at the Puskar Stadium. So you know what you can do? You can help. Register as an organ donor and help save lives. All you have to do is go to donatelifewv.org, and you just register as a donor today. Once again, it's donatelifewv.org. It would be the everlasting gift that you can make. donatelifewv.org. Brand new stadium. You leave the old stadium in 79, and here comes this guy, Don Nehlen. Governor Rockefeller's out on that field. Cincinnati's the opponent. John Denver out onto the field, and you got to be standing on that sideline. Here comes your first game as a full-time assistant coach, and you got to be going at some point, and I know it's just a job and not a career for you, but at some point you got to be going like, whoa, look at this, man. We've made a little move here from the bar in Eastern PA, right?
So this is what the big leagues look like, you know? No, I said the same thing I said when I got off the plane in Arizona. I looked around and thought to myself, what the hell am I doing here? But, it was a great day, you know. And, of course, we don't get to see John Denver sing. But
yeah, you're in the locker room.
It was a hell of an experience. It really was. And that's what got the ball rolling. That's what started everything.
Coach Nehlen says that was the most nervous he ever was for a game because there was so much pressure, because it was his first, because John Denver's there, brand new stadium. You got to win the game.
Then he'd tell you, I'm never nervous. We're out playing Oklahoma. I'm never nervous. Yeah, they got everybody in their uncle, and he's not nervous. We played for the national championship. We played Notre Dame in Phoenix, and I'm really nervous. I mean, I'm to the point where my heart felt like it was going to beat out of my. Well, Donnie says, well, we got to call recruits. I said, oh, we do, huh? And he gives me this phone. And I dial a phone, and I'm on the field because it's a mobile phone.
Those are the first one, those big gray
things,
right?
Yeah, it was one of them. Looked like
like a big brick.
Looked like World War II walkie-talkie.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm on the phone, and it's ringing. I'm walking across midfield. Geez, the woman answers the phone and says, hello. I'm forgetting who the hell I talked to. I called. It was Jake Kelchner's mom.
How about that?
I said to Donnie, I said, who did I call?
How about that?
Oh, yeah.
So that was 88. You're recruiting Kelchner. He goes to Notre Dame, and eventually he quarterbacks West Virginia to 93.
And then that game you talked about, that was Kelchner's game.
Yeah, exactly right.
It was cold that day.
You played, okay, I don't want to jump that far ahead. So here's a question for you. So Don is very mild-mannered, so to speak, very proficient, very professional. He does not curse. He's not that kind of guy. He doesn't.
Not a drinker.
Not a drinker. Doesn't have.
He'll have an occasional beer, and that's it.
Yeah, it does not have the gravelly voice. Does not have the physical presence of a guy that would punch your face. And yet, he instilled what he wanted from his coaches. He wanted to be West Virginia. He wanted to be blue collar, never back down, never stop working, punch you in the face.
Right.
How did the culture that he built come about in your view?
Well, you know, culture comes about. There's more than a change in culture than just saying, oh, we're going to change the culture.
Right.
We're going to get up the next day and wear a blue shirt instead of a red one. It's changing the culture. Everything is A, how you practice, and B, your personal approach. And you've heard this story a million times. When the kids had come in, Don's first thing, he drew a half-ass well on the wall. And it was so trivial and so trite and so effective. And he said, down here is the mountaineer. And he talked about crawling out of that well. And that panther just pounding that thing. But he let those kids know right off the bat in a very nice way that everything is about beating Pitt. Everything is about beating Pitt. That you came here to essentially beat Pitt. And that was our rival. And everything else, all our other success would bleed off of that. But we got to do that first. And we got our asses kicked the first few years. Mm-hmm. I mean, but then you look at our record versus Pitt as opposed to what it was before. And I don't mean before when Frank. I'm talking about those 20 or 30 years that West Virginia never scored a point that Pitt beat them. Pitt had some great teams. But we turned the tide on Pitt. But it was those little things that never got outside the team meeting room. You know, the fact that his door was always open. The kid could feel like he could sit down with Don one-on-one and have an honest conversation and get somewhere, not beat his head against the wall. And know that he wasn't a bleeding heart. He wasn't a guy that was going to agree with every kid that went into him. But you don't have to agree. There's nothing that says you gotta, nothing in the contract says I gotta say. It's like with your kids. Nothing says I got to say yes to you all the time. It's not written anywhere. I got a right as an adult to say no. And Don had that right as the head coach to say no to us and to them. And they knew that, but they still found a guy that was willing to listen, but wouldn't say no all the time.
It would seem to be, too, another part of that equation would be the guys you brought in. I mean, we've heard so many stories over the years, under-recruited guys or guys that didn't look like pros when you brought them in, turned into pros. So I would assume you guys spent hours upon hours in meeting rooms talking about the kind of kid you wanted in this program as well. When
you talk about culture, you talk about a pristine pond, okay? You can imagine it, fish living in it, the farmer's pond that he has. But all it takes to wreck that thing, take one can of motor oil, poke a couple holes in it, and toss it in that thing. Next thing you know, you got a sewer dump. Mm-hmm. And so, we wanted to bring in. I'm not saying we always did. I'm not patting myself on the back. I don't. My halo does not going to slip down and choke me today. But the majority of the kids we brought in were good kids, and they were under-recruited kids. But who's to say who's a good kid and who ain't? I don't know. You could talk, well, this guy was a great recruit. This guy's a great. No, he got his name in the papers. But this guy, as far as I know, he didn't have any crystal ball. Then my crystal ball was as good as that guy's. And the other thing was, I thought, again, Donnie was a great evaluator.
For those who don't know, Donnie
Young was a great evaluator. And, I mean, he could take – it was like a math problem. He could take the kid on film and Don used to tell us a million times – the be-all, end-all isn't the film. It's the whole package. And so you look at the whole package of the kid. What kind of growth potential that he has? How big's the old man?
How big's the mother?
How big's the mom? What's the school rate? Does he miss school? You know what I mean? Does he attend school regularly? Is he a good student? Does he go to class? Does he have a job after school? Is it a good home? Not necessarily the good home is the only thing, but when you talk to that pop and mom, do they look you in the eye? There's a whole million things that you could get into. And we recruited those type of kids and did pretty damn well with them.
You guys used a 3-vote system. Don Nealon, Donnie Young, and the particular position coach. You guys would have your vote as to yes, we're going to offer, no, we're not going to offer.
Yeah. And like even in the case with John Thornton, there was there wasn't. Scotland School was by no means a powerhouse, but it was good. They were good football players, good kids. And so the film, you had to take bits and pieces. Well, a lot of the bits and pieces I took to show how athletic, when I recruited Beasley, I didn't take Beasley off a football film. In them days, Christ, the defensive backs were never on film. You might see them twice a game on a film.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
When Beasley got recruited, watch Beasley on the basketball court. You think Aaron Beasley could run? Watch him run with a ball in his hand. Watch him breaking away on a layup. Watch him off the steal and putting the ball up. Right then and there, I said, this guy is a great player. Well, it was John Thornton. Well, that year that we recruited Thornton, okay, we had more guys on our team off state championship basketball teams than they did on our basketball team at the time. Mm-hmm. So we put this film together, and Donnie liked it. And, of course, you look at John, and John was just a smaller version. He still had them great big hands, fingers like Kabasi. You knew this guy was born to play football. And just an excellent student, excellent person. He sounded like a college professor when he talked to you.
Yeah.
And so, make some great plays on there, bring him in. And so So finally, hey, everybody thumbs up. We like him. We like him. So the first day we meet with the kids, and Don always told the kids, say, you go where you want to play. Wherever you want to play. So, me and him know each other. So I go into my meeting. The first meeting with the kids, no John Thornton. I said, what the hell is this? I go right into the McMichael's room. He's sitting in there.
Tight ends.
Yeah.
Tight
So
ends.
what are you doing here?
He went to the tight end meeting room.
Yeah. He said, I'm a tight end. I said, oh, no, you ain't. It's a tight end.
So you pulled him out of the meeting and said, you're
You
coming
got
over
it.
here?
McMichael's, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, never mind, Dave. You know the plan. Boom, right over. Tight end. Yeah. That was going to happen. Hell would have froze over before that happened.
Think about it now, Kirelawich. His son's here going to be playing. Isn't it amazing?
That's something. Believe me, it just means you're getting older and older and older. And if he's half the player his dad is and half the man his dad is, this kid's going to be a great one, too.
I don't want to put pressure on the kid, but John thinks he is. John thinks he's going to be a great player.
He's going to be a great player. We talked about genetics earlier. How could he not be?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a wonderful example sitting right across the dinner table from him every night. I mean, to me, there's no John's a great guy. John deserves every accolade that he get. Because if they know where John came from, it wasn't like John was born with a silver spoon.
Wow.
John, everything John made, John did because John did. Yep. Not because he had any advantage in or anything. I mean, I'll tell you a story about recruiting him. And I hate to get off track. I don't want to throw you off.
No, we're good.
But we just had one of the biggest snowstorms in the history of mankind the night I'm recruiting him, the night before. Well, it's the winter up till that time. I stayed, and if you can imagine, I stayed in King of Prussia, okay, which is up here. If you know where King of Prussia, Pennsylvania is, it's right on the turnpike. It's right on 202. I could get to anywhere I wanted to go in Philadelphia from King of Prussia, okay? And it's right on the expressway. Well, anyway, I talked to John's dad. He said, you can't come to our house. He said, there's so much snow. The city of Philadelphia can't move it out.
Right.
There's no place for you to go. I can get there. Tell you what I'll do. I'll meet you at the Adams Mark.
Yeah. City Line Avenue.
City Line Avenue.
I remember
I'll meet you at it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I'll meet you at the Adams Mark. And so I go down the expressway. Well, at the time, the state ran out of money. They had no more salt for the roads. Cars are sliding all over the place. But I always had studs on my car because I had to drive over those Maryland mountains to go recruiting. Up until I started recruiting Florida, I never flew.
Right, I knew
when
that
came with Rich, I never flew. I always drove. I like to be the captain of my own plane. I like to say when I'm going. I don't want to.
I know.
Some damn.
You used to drive to Boston College when we'd play them.
Yeah, I drove up there.
And you pulled over to get gas before you got to there. And what did the guy tell you when you went to
the guy? I said, "How do you get to Boston College?" And I mean, we're cramped in this car all night. I mean, I'm he's not in a good mood the way. The guy looks at me, smart ass. He goes, "Study hard, study hard." I said, "Pal, let me out of this car for about 5 minutes. I'll give you study hard.
Anyway,
I'll break your nose into a million pieces, but study hard. I'll never forget that." Where was I?
You were talking about the snow and Johnny Thornton.
You have
I had the
studs on your tires.
The snow. I drive down to the Adams Mark. Yeah. There's no parking places. It's just snow everywhere. So I just pull in. John and his dad was inside, and we went in. We had our home visit right there in the Adams Mark, and that was that.
That's history, man.
Yeah, I mean it was unique.
Tells it. It's an amazing story. You don't have a golf date you got to go to right now? No, you're good.
Today.
Not today.
No,
your hole in one you hit yesterday. First one in how many years you been playing?
I haven't been playing that long, but the fact is, no matter how many years I've been playing, I'm destined to be a lousy golfer.
Okay.
I mean, I'm Marion Zuccari's patience, believe me, are only exceeded by St. Anthony's. I mean, it just to be my partner. But anyway, my hitting a hole in one, making a hole in one, is inspiration out there for every lousy golfer in America.
Keep going.
You can do it. You can do it. They'd say par. Well, par for me is 100. Maggie said, "How'd you do?" I said, "I shot 3 over today." Yeah. She thinks I'm good. Okay. She don't know nothing about golf.
Well, do this. Since we're rolling, I want to do two parts on this. So you just settle in, and we're going to end part one, and then we're going to bring back part two next week on our program being brought to us in part by the good folks at Wheeling Island Hotel, Casino, and Racetrack. We're coming up on July 3rd. Wednesday, July 3rd is the third annual family-friendly fireworks spectacular. Racing starts at 3. Greyhound racing, cookout on the racing apron, you name it, for the kids, face painting, caricatures will be joined, cornhole, live entertainment by the band Twice as Nice, 6:30 to 9:30, fireworks that night, July 3rd at Wheeling Island Hotel, Casino, and Racetrack. Part 1 in the book, Bill Kirelawich Unplugged. What happens at West Virginia as they get things rolling? Mid-'80s, national championship. Don Nehlen's career rolls on, and then Rich Rodriguez's move. Kirlav goes to Arizona, and then he went dead silent for 8 years, and we're finally hearing him talk after all that. Stay with us. Podcast episode number 121, Bill Kirelawich, part 1 into the book. Thanks for being with us. Talk to you again next week with Kirlav.